Good morning, friends. Welcome to GoOnlineTrainings.com. So yesterday we spoke about why data gateways is important and how to install the data gateway and how to configure the data gateway also we had seen and how to do the refresh, okay, to get the latest data from the Power BI service we had seen yesterday. Today, let us execute the same thing and Neelima is not able to hear. What about others? Can you hear me, guys? Vinpistunda. Others, can you hear me? Yeah, okay, right. Neelima, I think you need to rejoin the class. Fine. So we had seen yesterday and we were able to get the data from the Excel sheets, right? So today I wanted to open Power BI and I wanted to deal with SQL Server, right? Now I wanted to understand a few more things here, right? So now let me take data from SQL Server. Why are we not going to the transform data? Transform data can be used if you wanted to clean the data. If somebody gives you cleaned data, why is that you wanted to come here again? There is no point to come here, right? So you wanted to take the data directly from here and I wanted to click on SQL Server. I wanted to get the data from the SQL Server. My computer name is called Kedar. So what is your computer name? How do you know? So you need to find out your SQL Server computer name. Select @ server name. When you type this command and execute it, you will be able to get the computer name. Uppercase, lowercase doesn't matter. So this is what is my SQL Server name, Kedar, right? So that is what I had given. And one database I wanted to use, you can take iBank database. You have the iBank, right? Everybody is practicing iBank. I wanted to take, so you can say use iBank, right? Now, after that, let me delete this. Okay, use iBank. Now I wanted to get some data, select star from the account master table, right? So we have account master table. I wanted to take some data from this table, right? So I wanted to simply go there and use iBank database. Now, if you understand carefully, there are import and direct query data connectivity modes I'm talking about, right? So today I wanted to, let you know that why data connectivity modes are very, very important. Clear? So this is what I'm talking about. Connectivity mode. So if you use SQL Server or any RDBMS, SQL or Oracle, any RDBMS, one connectivity mode is called import that is there. And one more connectivity mode is called direct query. So the other day, I explained about these two things, right? So what is the import and what is the direct query? And you have, when you use SSAS, SSAS means I'm talking about the cubes, right? When you're trying to connect to the cube, you will be able to get one more data connectivity mode called live, right? If you use any files means Excel file, flat file, XML file, the data connectivity mode will be import, right? So totally there are three connectivity modes. One is called import connectivity mode. So here you can use import or direct query. So this is the next one. Second one is called direct connectivity mode. The third one is live connectivity mode. So import means, right? So what happens when you go in for any file by directly, it is going to be using the, connectivity mode is called import. Import means what? All the data from the Excel sheets or any file will be taken and it is going to be storing all the data into the RAM of your Power BI. So wherever Power BI is installed, Inside that computer, there is a RAM, right? So all the data is going to be taken, all the data is going to be stored into the RAM of your computer. But remember, after compression, what is the maximum size we can have in the RAM? 10 GB of data. So normally, we don't get 20 GB of data, 100 GB of data in a flat file or the Excel file, because it is very, very heavy. Have you seen any Excel file with 20 GB? It is not going to open, right? So you don't get very, very bigger files. So maximum 2 GB, 3 GB of data that you get it. After compression, maximum it will become 1 or 2 GB. So when you use any file means XML file, JSON file, X file, Y file, Z file. If you take the data from here, and automatically you need to understand that there is a data connectivity mode automatically being used inside this file is import connectivity mode. Import means cached. Import means what? Cached. Cached means store all the data of this file into the RAM of your Power BI. Wherever the Power BI is installed and configured, in that machine there is a RAM. RAM is also called as a cache. Remember, all these are synonyms. Okay, so RAM is also called as a cache, or RAM is also called as a buffer. Clear? All these are synonyms. Clear? So cached or buffered, or it is going to be stored in the RAM. Everything is similar. When you say all the data from the flat file or Excel file will be cached or will be imported to the RAM. Clear? So that is what you need to understand. So when you use any flat file, what will happen? The data connectivity mode will be import. So the maximum data after the compression will be 10 GB of data that you can store. So when you come down to SQL means any RDBMS, need not be SQL Server. So you will get a lot of databases. So database data will not be in GBs, right? You will have a huge amount of data. That database size will be 500 GB. Now, if it is a 500 GB or it is a 1 terabyte of data, when we have so much of a data, after compression, it will become 500 GB. After compression, will become 50 GB of data. The 50 GB of data, I will not be able to store in the which method? If I use import method, so what is the meaning? All the data from the SQL server will be copied as it is, will be copied as it is, and it will get compressed. It will become 50 GB of data, but Power BI cannot store the 50 GB of data. So when you have lesser than 10 GB means after compression, then you can use import. But if the database size is 1 terabyte, after compression, it will become 100 GB of data. So if that is the case, we cannot use import methodology. Clear? You should not use this. You have to use the direct query method. Okay. So all these things you need to understand one by one. Now let me tell you what it is happening. So what are the connectivity modes I'm talking about? So very, very important point to understand the data gateways, right? To get the data to Power BI, there is import, direct query, or live. Whether it is a Power BI service or a desktop, forget about it. So import, direct query, live. So import can be used for any files. Clear? Any files or with the SQL, any RDBMS. Direct query only for the SQL. SQL means wherever there is a query language, Oracle, SQL Server, MS Access, right? You have Teradata. So wherever there is SQL databases, so there is import methodology that you can use. Plus, you can also use direct query. Querying language can be written where? Only in the SQL. SQL means RDBMS. So when you have less amount of data, SQL can use import, right? When you have more than terabytes of data, direct query can be used. What is the meaning? The data from the SQL Server database or Oracle database will not be stored into the RAM of the Power BI, either desktop or service. Forget about it. Clear? So it is not going to be storing live. When is that live can be used? If you are getting the data from the cube, SSAS, tabular model cube, or multi-dimensional cube, we will be able to talk about this. So let me talk about all the data connectivity modes one by one. So what actually is going to be happening, you need to understand clearly. Am I clear, guys? So it is very, very important interview question. So if you take any files data, what is going to be happening? This is what is your Power BI desktop or Power BI service. Forget about it as of now. So let me take Power BI desktop. So you are getting the data from the files. Okay, you're getting the data from the files. So when you use the file, what kind of a technique can be used? It is going to be import. Clear? What kind of a methodology or connectivity mode going to be used? Import. It is also called as a cached. Clear? That means what all the data of yours is going to be stored in the RAM of your Power BI. So this is your RAM. You think like that. So all the data is going to be stored. So what kind of a database is going to be created? We know that it is going to be creating a columnar database, that we know, right? So a columnar database gets created. All the data, okay, columnar DB will be created. All the data is stored. So data plus schema. Schema means table names. Okay. So schema plus data, both of them will be stored. Clear? So what is a schema? If you wanted to understand, for example, I am creating a table. What is my table? Employee ID. Employee ID, employee name, employee salary, right? So employee ID is a primary key and which is integer. Employee name is called var 100 and null, not null. It is a not null column. So like that, it is what is called money. Money means a special data type called money. So like that, we are going to be saying this is a null column. So and I'm going to be storing large amount of data. So so let us say Sita salary is 1,002, John salary is 2,003, Raghu salary is 3,004, Ahmad salary is, let us say, some 4,000, something like this. I have data. Now you tell me what is the schema here? Okay. What is a schema here? What is a data? Schema is also called as a metadata. So metadata means data about data. Now tell me what is a schema? What is a data? Now you can clearly understand this is what is called data, right? So this is what is called data. So column name, employee ID, employee name, salary, data type, null, not null, table name. So all this, including column names and everything, this is what is called schema. Clear? So if you wanted to create a table, first of all, you need to have the at least minimum columns you have to create. Minimum columns you have to create and column names have to be given. In SQL Server, we also give primary key, integer, blah, blah, blah. We give the table name, null, not null, foreign key. So whatever you are specifying, that is what is called a schema or metadata. So data about data is called metadata. It is what is called a schema. So every table will have a schema. Every table will have a data. So that is what you have to know clearly. What is a schema? Schema means column names, table names, primary key, foreign key, constraints, and data types. So whatever you're writing behind the table. So all these things are called as a schema. Are you clear? So what will happen here when you take the data completely? First, the table structure is going to be created. Now it could be, you can take Excel file. or you can take a flat file, or you can take a CSV file, or you can take any XML file, any file means data by default will be imported or cached. So where all the data is going to be coming, if we have data, for example, I have 10 here, I have 20 in the RAM, you will be able to get those numbers. 10 and 20 will be here. So all the data is going to come. So tomorrow, if you modify this data, it is not a 20. It is not a 20. It is a 25. If you modify the data to get the latest data, what normally we do? We do the refresh, right? So you will be able to get the data. So remember, when you use the import method, a data copy is going to be there. So copy of data is going to be available. One original copy is available here, and it is going to be taking all the data and it is going to be making a copy. When you make the copy, you have to sync the data. When you need to sync, whenever you modify the data here, the same data has to come here, means you need to do what is called as a refresh. Clear? So that is what you have to do it. When you refresh the data, what happens? Again, you delete all the data, reload all the data. All the data will be deleted from the RAM. When you refresh, again, all the data will be reloaded. So you will have 10 and 25. So like that, when you refresh, what happens? All the data will be deleted from the RAM of the Power BI desktop computer and reloaded. So import means what? All the data will be copied. Copy of data. First copy will be here. Second copy will be there. Clear? So that is what you need to understand when you use import. Now, I am talking about the next one, databases. So I'm talking about a database now. The database means Oracle database, SQL Server database. You can have anything. You may have Oracle database, SQL Server database, SQL. So SQL data, when you have a small amount of data, you can also use import methodology. What is the meaning? So import means what will happen? All the data from the SQL Server database, for example, the database name is called iBank database. Okay, the database name is called iBank database. When you have less amount of data, now let me show you what is the size of this database. How do you show? Right click on the database, and when you go to the properties, you will come to know the size very, very easily. When you go to here, you will be able to see the size of the database 11.38 MB. No, so you take all the data, there is no problem. After compression, it will become approximately 1 MB of data, right? So what is the size of this data warehousing database? This is a learning database given by Microsoft. It is not my own database. Size is 92 point, approximately you can say 93 MB or 100 MB. 100 MB, when you compress it, it will become 10 MB of data. So there is no problem. You can take all the data, so you can connect. So you can connect it to Power BI. So let me open Power BI. I can use import. Data connectivity mode is called import. Import is also called as cached. So what happens, So it will create a database called, what kind of a database it's going to be creating? It's going to be creating a columnar database. All the data from the SQL Server again is going to be going. So again, you need to understand a copy of data. So if you have 10 tables here, all the 10 tables will be copied, schema will be copied, data will be copied, and you think what is the data size here? For example, data size is, let us say 100 MB of data. So 100 MB of data, after compression, a copy will be made. So 10 MB of data will be there. So 10 MB of data will be there. So you can store the data. A copy of the data will come and it is going to be compressing. A copy will be made. But if you think that it is not 100 MB of data, you think it is too much of a data. For example, you say you have 1 terabyte of data. You have 1 terabyte means 1000 GB of data. that is there. When you have so much of a data, you cannot use import methodology or cached data connectivity mode, because 100,000 GB after compression will become 100 GB. Maximum capacity it can store is, we know, 10 GB of data. Clear? So 10 GB of data Power BI can store the maximum in the RAM. So now the second situation is that you are going to be getting large amount of data. If that is the case, what is the connectivity mode we're going to be using? The second connectivity mode is called direct query. Okay, so you query directly. That is what it is saying. Don't store any data. Okay, if it is a small amount of data, Power BI is saying, hey, I can store the data. But when you have a large amount of data, Power BI is going to be taking the data into the direct query. What happens here? In this mode, only in this mode, what happens in your RAM? This is what is your RAM, right? So in the RAM, what happens? Only schema will be taken. What is spelling? SC. Schema will be taken plus no data. Why? Because if I take the data, this 1000 GB of data, after compression, it will become 100 GB. That Power BI will say, I cannot store it. What will you do? What will you do? If I give you, you have 1 liter of water bottle with you. I'm giving at least some 1 liter or half a liter of water. So you can take the water from me and you can dump into your water bottle. Okay, tomorrow I'll come. I have 500 liters of water. Then you will say what? You don't give me any water. You keep it with you. Whenever I need it, I directly come and collect the water from you, because I don't have any storage, right? So if somebody gives you so much of a data, Power BI knows that 10 GB, you give me the table names and everything, but don't send me the data. So where is the data available? For example, I have a data called 10 and 20 is available here. So what you do? You are not getting the data in this case. You have only table schema, right? If you create any report here, you take the data, you create one report here. Okay, if you create one report here, so with the help of this one, now what happens? Since you don't have any data here, since you don't have data, schema means column names and table names, right? Schema means you have employee, then table, column names, employee ID, employee name, and employee salary will be there. So in the report, you dragging and dropping the salary. So when you drag and drop the salary, but actually column name is there, but there is no data inside this. So what will happen? Since there is no data here, so what will happen? It will first check in the RAM. There is no data. If there is no data, what happens? Power BI will go back here. You don't have any data. Directly, it will go and fetch the data from here. Clear? I don't have any data here. I'm not going to store any data. 10 and 20 is here. 10 and 20 data is not there. Only schema. Schema means what I told you. Column names, some table names are there. You drag and drop the salary in the card visualization. This is a card visualization in the report. Now you drag and drop the salary. It has to show the total salary. What is the total salary? So it has to go and check in the column in the database. There is no data here. There is no data here. If there is no data, since it's direct query, the Power BI is going to go into the SQL server. It will go and get the data and processing the data, and it is going to be displaying in the report saying that the total is 30. The total is 30. Now, in the direct query mode, you know that it is a slow processing. If you have something in your pocket, right, it will be faster. If the Power BI is storing something in the RAM, if a report is created, it has to go to the RAM and fetch the data, store the data. So import methodology is always faster. Clear? When you want to display the data using import methodology, that means when you use any file or when you use any database with import, the reports are very, very faster. Why? Reports are very, very fast when you use the import because you're going to be storing the data. Then there is a card visualization here. So you drag and drop the salary. If the data is available here, it is going to be aggregating and showing it. But if the data is not available, what is going to be happening? This has to go to directly to the SQL server and it's going to be querying. It is going to be querying and aggregating, fetch the data, aggregating the data, store the data. When you use the direct query, what happens? Power BI does not store the data. So if you don't store the data, because tomorrow you have so much of a data, only schema, what is the size you need to store the schema? It is in KBs, but much more, space will be occupied by the data only, right? So if you store only the schema, it is not going to take any huge amount. Clear? So schema I'm going to be using, but not the data. Why? Because Power BI can store 10 GB of data and the Power BI cannot store the data because we're talking about 1000 GB of data. In this case, you don't have anything. Now let us understand. You have taken the direct query and you have created a report in the Power BI desktop. Fine. So where is the database available? In the Kedar machine. Now this report and everything you deployed to the Power BI service. Now everything got deployed. Let us understand all the reports have been deployed to a Power BI service. This is your PBI service. Let us understand the situation. Okay. Power BI service means a cloud. So all the reports and everything is going to come. You have created one report with the direct query. So what happens? All the reports and everything will come here. So you will have a report here and you will have the data and everything. But unfortunately, the report will be here. The data is not going to be there. So no data will come. Why no data will come? Because we are going to use direct query. Only the report will come. So in the Power BI service. Now, when you click on the report, what happens? So the report is supposed to open the employee's salary. So you're clicking on this report in the Power BI service. You don't have any data. Why? Because you have using direct query. Now what happens? The Power BI service is a cloud. Now, since it does not have any data, it has to go and get the data from the original source. Because I don't have any data, so I have to Power BI service trying to go to the original source. Now, original source is Kedar. This is on premises. Now, from on premises, can I get the data to the cloud directly? No, cannot, because you don't have any data. At least in the import method means you see the data. But if you go in for the cloud and on premises, you don't have any data. Even though you have taken the report has gone no data. So I am planning to open the report. Report is saying I am not able to go and fetch the data. Why? To the cloud, if you wanted to fetch the data, in between, you need to have a data gateway software. Remember this. If the data gateway software is not available, at least the report you cannot see. You cannot refresh. Why you cannot refresh? Because the refresh can be used if you wanted to, get the latest data. You don't have any data here. If you have one copy of data, to get the latest data, we use refresh technique. Clear? So here we cannot use refresh technique because you don't store any data. Every time you go and get the data. Today, 10 and 20 is there, you will get 10 and 20. Tomorrow, people are going to be modifying. This is not 10, this is not 20. Tomorrow, people are modifying directly. It is instead of a 10, it is a 12. 20 become 25. So you don't store any data. If you don't store any data, you don't refresh. Clear? So refresh techniques can be used only for the import because you store one copy of data. If somebody modifies this, you need to get the latest data. You don't store any data, there is no refresh. If you wanted to get the data, directly you go and fetch the data. If somebody modifies the data here, now when you fetch, if there is a data gateway, you will be able to get the latest at 12 and at 25. There is no need of refresh for the direct query. Remember, so direct query means you don't store any data here. If you don't store the data, why you wanted to get the latest copy? Every time you're going to the query, and directly you're querying. It may be 10 or 12, whatever you have, that will be able to, you can fetch it. But remember, to get the data from the direct query, you have to have the compulsory data gateway software. I'll show you now. Clear? Now I'll go if it is import methodology. So if it is import means all the data will go directly, but I'm going to be using direct query. So my computer name is called Gather and my database name is called iBank, right? So I am going to be using a direct query. What do you mean by that? Hey, Power BI, you don't take any data from the SQL Server. Why? Direct query. When we are specifying, developer knows that iBank database has a large amount of data that Power BI cannot store it in the RAM. That is the meaning. Clear? So I am thinking as a developer, it is huge amount of database. I cannot use the import. It will fail. So click on direct query. Now see what happens. The middle button will disappear. The middle button will disappear as soon as I get the data. So I wanted to get only one copy of the data, or you may getting 2 or 3, whatever the data, all the data, you don't get any data. Are you able to see some data, right? All this data will not come at all. Remember that. Okay. All the data is not going to come to the Power BI. The middle button will disappear. You cannot see the data directly here. Have you seen? So you will be able to see the table names and the column names. No, you don't see the data. But if you wanted to see the data, we create a reports and everything. Now what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to know what is the, I'm going to be using card visualization. So I wanted to have what is called as a clear balance. Clear? So some data I wanted to store. So $2.98 million, right? So effects, I'm going to be giving some this. This is clear balance. Control C and Control V. I'm going to be going and removing and add the U balance. Some of the U balance and some of the this balance. Now I'll take one visualizations. Inside that visualization, you can take product wise sum of balance, something like that. I am planning to modify something here. Clear? So now I go, I apply something here. Now I want to have the data labels and everything. FD means fixed deposit loan account. So whatever you wanted to have, you should be able to have something like this. And Control C and Control V. I wanted to use a second one where the branch ID I wanted to have. So branch wise, branch BR1, BR2, BR3, based on that I have some data. Clear? I have some data. So everything is fine. Now I'm going to be saving this. I'm going to be saving this. Now this is a iBank sales. Okay, I'm going to be using, it is from the SQL, and for the data gateway purpose we're creating. So I did not install, I have installed the data gateway, but I did not configure for this. So what I do, I'm going to be using 59. So PBI user 59 at the rate go online. Guys, you can use 60 and 61 also now. Okay, 60 and 61 online trainings, right? So .com, right? 60 and 61 is also working fine. If it is not working for you, you can use the next one. Okay, 60 and 61. So I have to use 59. The password, India@12. I wanted to sign in. So I wanted to deploy this report. Click on publish. Now I wanted to go to my workspace. What is the workspace name? Jogi, right? So I'm going to be using, so this data gateway workspace, and I'm going to be deploying it there, right? So iBank I have deployed. Now I'm able to see the data. Why? Because Power BI and Power BI and SQL Server are there in the single Kadar machine. Now I have deployed this to cloud. You go to the app.powerba.com. Now you go to app.powerba.com. When you go, what happens? So you have to log in using 59. You go India@12. Click on sign in. Now, since you don't have any data, so remember, so who did not get the data? SQL Server data did not come to the Power BI desktop. Power BI has only the column names and the table names. Middle button is gone. Have you seen this? You can model the data. So if you create a report, so this one is going to go to the SQL Server and fetching the data. Clear? So Power BI did not store the data. When you deploy, what happens? Only the data, this column names, table names are gone. Data is not there. When the data is not there, what will happen? So you go to your adventure works. Where is my Jogi, right? Let me say data gateway. So this is the data set. Now, just now I have open this. Now let me click on this. When you click on this, you are not getting anything. Why? There is no data gateway to access the data source IBank. See now, if you use import, for example, previous one, I'm using data gateways for Excel. At least you're able to see this data. You're able to see this data for the Excel, right? Now, one more report I have created with the IBank. Now, I'm not able to get anything here because I don't have data in the Power BI service. Why? Because Power BI service is going to store the data in the again RAM. So I don't have any data in the RAM. Why? As we explained, so if you don't have data here, the same data will not go at all. Even though it is going, maximum data Power BI service also can store 10 GB of data. If you take that 1000 GB of data after compression, it will become 100 GB. Definitely Power BI desktop and service will fail. So that is the reason we did not use the import methodology, data connectivity mode of import. So we have used direct query. You don't have any data. So Power BI service is trying to go to the original Kedar machine, which is on premises. Now to get the data from on premises to cloud, what you need to have? Data gateway has to be installed. Otherwise, direct query cannot work at all. Clear? But to import methodology for the refreshing purpose, to refresh the data purpose, we are going to be using data gateway. But here, at least the first time, if you want to see the data also, you have to configure. So how to configure? Yesterday we have installed, right? Let me go to click on this and manage data connectivity. So you go, yesterday we have installed, right? So what is my Kedar machine? So I have to go to data source and configure one data source. So click on new on premises. Now I wanted to use Kedar data gateway. Now this time I'm going to be using SQL, right? SQL server. So do you have name I need to give SQL iBank. Okay, SQL iBank from Kedar machine. I wanted to use data source type is SQL. So when I say SQL, automatically SQL server comes. Now, what is the connection string? How do you get the connection string? Very simple. Go to your report, click on the data source settings. Now you go, click on change source. Now you will be able to get Kedar and iBank. So what is the machine name? Kedar, and database name is called iBank. So uppercase, lowercase, as it is, you need to take. However, you're writing the same way. If you make small b here, it may fail. Or if you make it upper Kedar here, it may fail. Clear? Because you have given it a small Kedar. You can mention small Kedar here, then it is going to work. So you have to remember all these things. And authentication, I need not tell you, Windows authentication, the username and password, I need not tell you, right? So how to get the username and password? So always you can click on connect and database engine. So username is Kedar/Bhaskar and Windows authentication I'm using. Now the same thing, you should be able to type it there. So make sure. So username is called Kedar. So yesterday I've written, and the password to getting into my laptop, it is not India@1 2. Whatever be the password that you have to log in into Windows, that password you need to give. If you don't have a password, what should I do? If you don't have a password, it is not going to work. Remember, you need to create a password. Clear? You have to reset the password. How to reset the password at the Windows level, do you know? So you can do like this. So if you wanted to reset the password at the Windows level, go to Start, click on this folder icon. Okay. After that, you can right click on this PC, go to Properties. You can go to Properties tab, not Properties. Sorry. Let me click on this, right click on this. You will be able to show me more properties. In this, you will be able to get manage, right? You will be able to see a manage. So click on this, you will be able to see your usernames and password at the Windows level. What is my username? Bhaskar. Okay. So you can see my username is Bhaskar. I'm the administrator. All right. Now, how to reset the password? Right click on this. You can say set the password. Proceed. Now you should be able to set the password. Clear? When you go to the groups, now administrators, when you go, Bhaskar is the administrator. So this is how you need to reset the password. So how to come? So click on the Windows. Now click on this PC, right click on this, you say show more options. Then go to manage. Okay. Now expand local users and groups. You will be able to get the users. Now your user will be here and you need to right click on this and you say set password. If it is a blank, click on the proceed and you need to give the new password. Clear? So if this is not available to you, what is the meaning? So if you local users and groups, if it is not available to you, what is the meaning? The meaning is that you're not using a proper operating system. When you go, right click on this, show more options or go to properties, you will come to know what is the Windows version you're using. If you use home, you will not be able to find out manage. Clear? If you have a Windows 11 Pro, then you will be able to see the manage. But if you have a Windows 10 home, Windows 11 home, you will not be able to see the manage and everything. You can upgrade. You can go to online, upgrade your home to Pro by paying some 600 rupees or 700 rupees. You will be able to get small key. With the help of that, online, you will be able to upgrade your home to Pro. Clear? So remember that. So that is what you can reset the passwords and everything. So all these are needed, guys. So otherwise, so what happened? Everything is closed. Sorry, everything is closed. So I'm going to be using app.powerbi.com. Now use 59 user and password is India@12. Now click on sign in. Okay. Now, sorry, you don't have access to that group. What is that? I don't know. So click on the workspace. What is my workspace name? Search for Jogi's workspace data gateway. Now I cannot open this. Why I cannot open? Because there is no data gateway. So what should I do? You have to go to here. Click on this settings. Now you have installed the data gateway. Now you need to configure one, right? So what is the one I have to configure? Click new. It is the Kedar gateway. I have to use it. And I can say SQL iBank, right? And in the Kedar machine, my machine, source type SQL server and server name Kedar, database name B capital iBank, authentication is Windows and Kedar, right? Bhaskar, password, whatever I'm giving at the Windows level, it is not India@12. That's it. Click on create. Right now, I'm creating a one data source in the data gateway level. So it got created. Have you seen this? Now, once it is done, what do you have to do? You have to go to your Sudeshna is asking, sir, why we need to create multiple workspaces? Can't we use only one and deploy all in that? We can use that. There's no problem at all. So since it's a training, I'm following my liberty. But in the real time, you will have only one workspace. Clear? Yeah. So what I'm using, I have to go to the data set. Clear? When you go to all, what is the data set you need to use this data set, right? Now, how to map that? Click on this. So you have to go to your data set, click on the settings. Now you will be able to go to gateway connections. You have to map it, right? Now, when you click on this, you will be able to get that. So please wait. It is getting, where is your connection? This is the one, right? It is going to be something is working. Have you seen this? Now it is trying to get the path which has been specified there. It is trying to get that path. You need to wait. So you need to keep on your data gateway. So you need to come to this corner and keep an eye, right? So you need to keep an eye here. So you're able to get something, gather IBank database. Now you need to click on this. You have to map your connection. So this is the one, right? SQL IBank gather. So I have mapped it. Click on apply. So when you map, then you can go back to your adventure works. Now, someone's video is on. Prashant A. Yes. Now I need to go back. Now click on this. I will be able to see the report now. So earlier we were not able to get the data. Now you're able to get the data from where? You're able to get the data from the Kadar machine. So Kadar machine has to be on 24/7. Otherwise, you don't get the data. If the Power BI service is giving you data and giving the reports, now Power BI service does not have any data. So my laptop has to be on. Now it is taking a lot of time. Have you seen this? Now direct query mode will be always slower than the import. Import is going to be storing the data in the Power BI service RAM, but direct query is not going to be storing the data. Now, with the help of a direct query, it will go and fetch the data. Clear? If you modify anything here, automatically, you need not refresh. Simply do this kind of a refresh. You will be able to get the fresh data and everything. Clear? Because you're not going to be copying any data. You need not do any data set refresh. Clear? So always you get the latest data only. Clear? So that is what is we're talking about direct query methodology. So when you use direct query, remember you need to compulsorily have the data gateway. The last one I was talking about. So when you have the data coming from the cube, so cube means you don't know why we are going to be using cube and all. So, but you will learn later. If you're getting the data from the cube, okay, so what happens? Cube means we are going to be using one more language, one more data connectivity mode is called live. Okay, so nothing will be there in the here. Only the table schema will come, no data will go. Every time again, you come back to the cube and you will be able to get the data. So nothing will be there in your RAM, no data, only the schema will go, no data. So always again you will go back and get the data. So when where the live connection can be used means if you're accessing the data from the Power BI or when you get the Power BI data set. So do you remember we had created a Power BI data set and we were consuming. I was talking to you, if you use the Power BI data set, the connection will be live. Clear? So live connection will be taken. Either you use the cube or you create a data set and deploy. And again, you're trying to connect to the Power BI data set means, so we are going to be using live connection. Clear? So Neelama is asking, how many times we can do refresh, sir? So as we discussed yesterday, 48 times maximum that we can refresh. Clear? So these are the three methodologies. Import means any file. Direct query means what? Only for the RDBMS, not for anything. Live means Power BI data, Power BI service data sets or the cube. Clear? So that is what you got to understand. Now, there are two types of differences I was talking about, right? When you install the personal data gateway, only one user can use it. So suppose only the import, schedule refresh only you can do it, right? So if you use the standard or the enterprise data gate, which is recommended, other people also can use it. Reusability with many users, that is fine. Supports the import, that means schedule refresh can be used, and support direct query and live query also. So this one is not going to be supporting other two data connectivity modes. Clear? Compulsory, these two are going to be asked. So what is the direct query, live query means? So direct query, live query means it is same. Direct query, live query is the same. Live means a difference. Okay. Live means a cube. Live query. Query means again RDBMS. Live means it's going to be connecting to the cube. So live query, direct query, it is same, similar. Okay. So live means a cube or PBA data sets. So don't say live query and live is same. No, live query is direct query. Live means simply live. Okay. So we can use data gateway softwares for this purpose. So what is the cube? If you wanted to get the data from the cube, so Power BI does not store any data in the cube. So that you can learn later. But what is the cube and all? If you wanted to get the data, so only the schema will be stored in the report. No data, Power BI service is going to be storing. Always you get the data from the live only. Live means from the cube or from Power BI desktop. What is the meaning of a live? No data is going to be stored in the Power BI service. Even in the direct query also, no data will be stored. Clear? So that is what you got to understand. Is it done? So we have created and we discussed about all these things, right? So anything else you wanted to know? Compulsory interview questions, right? So what is a get data gateway? What is the difference between personal gateway, enterprise gateway? How to install the data gateway? How to configure? So everything we can have. If I have a cloud machine as a source, and if I am using Power BI service as my one more cloud machine, and should I use a data gateway to get the data from the cloud to cloud? Answer is no, right? So what is the import, direct query, live query? All these are called as data connectivity modes. Clear? So all these things you need to practice, and tomorrow we will be able to practice some more demos. If you wanted to have Excel, we have practiced, and SQL Server with direct query we practiced, and SQL Server with import also you can try, and you should be able to work with this. Clear? So the first scenario, I have used SQL Server with direct query today. SQL Server with import means what? All the data will be copied and all the data will be stored in the RAM. But remember, so how many times? Maximum 48 times we can refresh, right? But remember, if you have a pro license, if you have a premium license, there are two licenses, right? Premium and pro. Pro license, only 1 GB of data you can store. Premium license, 10 GB of data you can store. And the premium licenses, 48 times you can refresh. Okay. But in the pro license, only 8 times per day you can refresh. This is also one more difference. Clear? So pro license means every month, every user you need to pay. One user, $10 you need to pay. Clear? So premium means, 1,000 users. So all people can make, I think, 5,000 USD for 1 year or for lifetime. I don't know. So this is what. So premium license is more costly. When you have a large amount of people in your company, you have to go in for premium, maximum 10 GB of data you can store. But if you go in for a pro, only 1 GB of data you can have, 8 times per day you can refresh. So in the premium, you will be able to refresh how many times? 48 times. So manually, you can refresh many number of times. So schedule refresh means only 48 times here, only 8 times here. Manually, no limit at all. Clear? So one refresh to one more refresh. What is the minimum interval? 30 minutes minimum interval from one refresh to one more refresh. The time interval is 30 minutes. Maximum how many times we can refresh? 48 times. And for the direct query, there is no need of refresh because you don't store any data in the RAM of the Power BI. So always you get the latest data from the source itself. So Power import means cached, and import is always faster. Direct query is always slower because it is not going to store any data in the columnar database of the Power BI desktop or Power BI service. So that is what you need to understand. These are the few interview questions that you have to practice. Clear? So Neelam is asking, if you have 10 GB of data, what to do? As I told you, when you have a 10 GB of data, what do you have to do? You have to use only the direct query. It will be slow also, but you need to manage only in this way. You cannot use import method. Neelama, are you clear? When you have large amount of data, you cannot store it. What you need to do? Simply, you need to use direct query only. There is no other one. Sudesh is asking, manual refresh, no need to have time limit, right, sir? Manual refresh, there is no need, right? So any number of times you can have, so you can do every 5 minutes, every 2 minutes, every 3 minutes, right? Suresh is asking, what is the limit of Tableau? What is the limit of Tableau means? What is the question? Can you ask? In terms of what? You said 10 GB of data Power BI, right? Tableau, you need to ask the Tableau trainer. I don't know. Hmm? Because I never worked with the Tableau software. Chalo.